Welcome in, everyone, to the Pack a Day podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And I think we all know why you're here watching this video, listening to this episode. Yes, we are going to address the elephant in the room of the Royce Newman renegotiated contract. Royce is going to be a Packer. He's going to be in training camp. Don't worry about it, everybody. No, we are obviously talking about Jordan Love, new contract, and a new highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. I'm Dan Kotnick, my buddy, as always, Jimmy Christensen, here to discuss it all. Jimmy, let's just get this out of the way first. Your reaction, that's what I want to hear from everybody is like, where were you when the news dropped, when the Adam Schefter tweet came across your timeline? Where were you, and what was the initial reaction?
The where was I was literally drying off out of the shower, and I saw on my phone alert because I grabbed it because I got a new fit. Like, it's such a backstory. I got a new Fitbit, so I'm putting it on. I'm making sure it's connecting, and I get an alert that says Jordan Love signed. Like, it was one of the Ian Rappaport, whatever, popped up, and so I am in my birthday suit, just calling my dad. It was like, he signed. Is not a great moment in my life, not one I'm going to cherish, but that's where I was. If I'm being fully transparent, I was naked in the bathroom calling my dad saying Jordan Love signed his contract.
Yeah, politics aside, it's very reminiscent of the now like infamous Kamala Harris, like, we did it, Joe, we did it meme. Like, yeah. Where we're like, it just came across, they just confirmed it. Jordan Love, he's here for 4 more years. We did it, Brian. We did it.
Dude, I was so happy. It's one of the weird things because like I knew it was coming, and like there wasn't a doubt in my mind. The contract was getting done. It was just a matter of when. Right. I was a little hesitant today after the Tua thing. I was like, oh, is this going to prolong it, like make it last a little bit longer? But I don't know if that was just the final nail in the coffin or what happened. But yeah, we're here.
Yeah, something that I ironically, I was in the middle of recording. I was jumping on a different Packers podcast, and we were talking about this live while the news broke. And so literally maybe 30 minutes before it broke, we were discussing this, and the point got brought up that Tua and Jordan Love have the same agent through Athletes First. And so maybe maybe the Tua signing was actually a harbinger for the Jordan Love deal, which it ended up becoming. Of maybe it was a semantics thing of, Tua needs to get his first so that he gets to say that he was the highest paid quarterback for a certain amount of time, and then Jordan gets it worked out, or, however it was. But I mean, you're right. Like the sentiment was still like everyone knew it was getting done. It was just a matter of when. And I think we all knew that basically it came out confirming everyone's suspicions that it was really just about like the structure of the contract. I think the money was always going to be the money. And when the numbers came out of 4 years, $220 million, so coming out to about $55 million a year, that was like smack dab of what everyone was predicting that it was going to end up being. And it came down to the idea of how much money is guaranteed, how does it get structured, et cetera, et cetera. And so like the big point with that being that it's a contract that really deviates away from how Packer contracts in general, not even just like quarterbacks, but just in general, have been structured. They don't like to give away a lot of guaranteed money. They don't like to tie them. They like to be very fluid and be able to maneuver that cap around. And that's just not how the game's played anymore when it comes to quarterbacks. $155 million guaranteed for Jordan Love. I mean, that's close to just like the rough math in my head. That's almost, I think, 60%, 75% of the contract guaranteed. $75 million signing bonus. I saw it was Deshaun Watson is the only quarterback that has more guarantees in his contract.
Great.
So,
which is fantastic for that organization.
Right. But yeah, I think, you know, this is a big moment for the Green Bay Packers. But like you said, it's hard to kind of like delve too deep into this because we all knew it was coming. We all pretty much knew kind of what the details were going to be. It was just basically like, let's just get it done. Someone get it done. It almost makes it a little like anticlimactic almost.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's, yeah, like you said, we knew it was happening. So it was more of just the annoyance of like, okay, guys, we know it's coming. Just finally
Right.
do it. And I think that took away from it a little bit because there wasn't that surprise factor of like, oh, it's done. Like he's the highest paid quarterback. It's been
Right.
reported for like 2 weeks. Rossini for the Athletic or Ringer. I listened
The
to both of
Athletic.
them.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
Athletic, okay. Like she reported he's going to be the highest paid. A couple other, I think it was Pro Football Focus said they were close. He's going to be the highest paid. So it was one of those things where it kind of took away from like the surprise factor of it all. But thank God we don't have to listen anymore, or not even listen, read anymore on Twitter. Sean Clifford threw a duck and it was intercepted. Michael Pratt threw a duck. It was intercepted. Like, okay, no duh.
We'll still get to see those. They'll just be interspersed with Jordan Love threw a 90-yard bomb to Christian Watson and it was placed perfectly into his hands.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hopefully. Now comes the part where we have to deal with probably like 2 or 3 days of like the clickbait articles of like overpaid. Just this was ridiculous. And so we'll get past that point. We'll get to family night for the Packers. Jordan Love will be there. Everything will be back to normal, but it's going to be truthfully, this might not even last long as him being the highest paid. So, like, hopefully Dak Prescott signs soon, so we don't have to deal with that nonsense for a little bit because it's going to be all the talking points on ESPN and all that stuff of was this an overpay, which is all nonsense because at this point, give it 2 years from now, he's going to be a top 8 contract in the NFL. Like, it's just how it is with all the deals coming in. Netflix is in there, Apple TV, Prime, like all these streamers are going to come in, and it's going to be such a minute. Like we could look 3 years from now and be like, wow, this was a steal of a contract. But in the moment when you see 220 million, people are gonna make their clickbait out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look back at the Patrick Mahomes deal from I think that's going on 4 or 5 years now. It was like it was like 10 years,
500 million.
500 million.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, that's insane. How could you commit? But now that he's getting paid, that's 50 million a year. So he's not even I don't think he's even in the top 8, 9 quarterbacks anymore. Jalen Hurts is getting 51 million a year.
Yeah. I think it broke down for Mahomes is like 45 million a year based on like his signing, but all that stuff. Yeah. So like he's 5 million more a year than Daniel Jones. So like putting it that way, it's like that's a good ass deal, you know?
And that's the thing is like you mentioned like talking about getting overpaid, you know, I saw Bears fans, as you could probably guess, talking about $220 million for half of a season, half of a season's worth of competent football. He's not getting paid $220 million for half of a season. He's getting paid for the years he's been at training camp, the years he's been in practice, in the facility, working with the coaches. They know what this guy is. It doesn't matter. The last season really didn't matter in terms of him getting this contract or not, the amount of money. Because like you said, Jordan Love probably holds this title of highest paid player in NFL history for maybe like a week at most before Dak Prescott gets his new contract. And that's the thing is you don't pay him 220 million because he had half of a good season. You pay him 222 million because that's the going rate for a franchise quarterback. There's only so many guys that can play as a starting NFL caliber quarterback. And there's only so many that can do it at a level high enough to win a Super Bowl. And you have to imagine Jordan Love has a case to at least be in that discussion of getting you to a Super Bowl. You pay him for that potential. You don't pay him because he had 8 good games at the end of last season.
And the tough part too is it's going to be harped on 8 good games. At the start of the season, he also played really well.
Yeah.
And it's also, you look at what was around him. Literally the entire season, he did not play a single game with all of the day one starters. Someone was always hurt, whether wide receiver, running back. You had Christian Watson going in and out. You had Jaden Reed getting acclimated to the NFL. Aaron Jones missed a bunch of the season.
AJ Dillon was your running back one for a good portion of the year. No offense to AJ Dillon, but he's not RB1.
No, and he still missed like 6 games, 7 games. Like that's the thing is like they were so depleted on that offensive end. Like it was such an injury-ridden season. And so for him to turn around the second half of the year and not just like he literally was the top performing quarterback the second half of the year. Like what he was putting up. And you take into consideration the offensive line changes, the wide receiver changes constantly, just getting acclimated to being a full-time starter. Like this is just what happens. It is what it is. Like quarterbacks get paid, and he has so much potential, and he flashed a lot more than a lot of the quarterbacks that he's in competition with right now for being one of the top 10 guys. And one of the craziest things I saw was the 2020 draft class right now in contracts is I think it's $1.2 billion. So like he's right up there with Burrow, Herbert, Jalen Hurts, who had a down year last year. So we want to talk about like contracts that don't look great. That's one right there until this year. So it's just, it is what it is. The quarterback is so valuable. And like you said, you have to pay on potential. And he showed that he can be better than Mahomes. I'm not saying he overall is better than Mahomes, but he performed last year better than him, Allen, Trevor Lawrence, who he's pretty much the same contract as. It's just, it is what it is, man. You gotta pay your quarterback and keep him in the building.
Yeah, it's the amount of money that you're paying somebody doesn't mean you're better than a different quarterback. You just need the lottery ticket. Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. They're the lottery ticket that means you have a chance to make the Super Bowl and bring home a championship. You mentioned, Jimmy, the other domino that is still waiting to fall in the NFL now. Dak Prescott, sitting down there in Dallas. He's been actively holding out. If I was reading correctly, I know CeeDee Lamb is holding out. Maybe I got to relook this up. I don't think Dak Prescott is actually actively holding out, but he is very active in the media discussing potential futures that don't involve the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just say it like that. Like I think he's definitely putting out the warning signs of this needs to get done soon or I'm going to be gone. So let me ask you that question just off the top of your head. What happens first? Does Dak Prescott move to a different team, or does he get a new deal that ends up surpassing Jordan Love's?
That is,
I know it's tough because
question.
I'm asking you to get into the mind of Jerry Jones, which is an incredibly difficult task.
That's what I was going to say. If it was any other team, I would say, yeah, he'd be the highest paid quarterback. But with Jerry Jones, at this point, they knew Parsons is going to be a free agent soon. CeeDee Lamb's going to be a free agent soon. And the way Jerry Jones is talking, I think Prescott goes the year without having a new contract. And I think he tests free agency. I think he just plays a long game because even the way as you mentioned, the way he's been talking of saying, like he even mentioned a lot of the greats end up not finishing with their team. Like you look at Rodgers, you look at Brady, you look at Peyton Manning, and not that he's in that caliber, but just a lot of like really talented great NFL players don't finish with the team they started with. And so the way he's talking already sounds like he's already come to terms with, yeah, I might not be like, I hope I'm here, but if they're not going to pay me, I'm not going to stay. And Jerry Jones' comment of like, there's been a lot of things in my life that I wanted, but I can't afford, which one, BS. Two, like I don't think they do it. And for me, also number one is Micah Parsons. You have to get him first. To me, he's that staple of the team. And I think he has the same opinion of Mike McCarthy of like, this is a make or break it year. So I think Jerry Jones is willing to just let this year roll out. I could see him firing McCarthy, not firing, but letting Prescott walk and rolling the dice. So I think Jordan Love honestly might, even though I said before, in reality, it could be a week and Prescott's the highest pay. But in my opinion, I think Jordan Love might go this whole season being the highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I only mentioned that because Tua was the highest paid quarterback for I think the time was about 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it was a great run for Tua while it lasted. I think you're onto something there with the Cowboys stuff. And I kind of mentioned this talking about it earlier today in terms of Dak Prescott stuff is Mike McCarthy just doesn't seem long for Dallas.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, like guys that you draft, they end up, if you draft a quarterback like that, it usually gives your coach, if he's on the hot seat, like a year reprieve, say like, oh, I just got my guy, like, let's get him in, gives him a chance. If they don't want to pay Dak or / more that they don't want to keep Mike McCarthy around, it's a really good opportunity to get both of those contracts off of your books, pay Micah Parsons, pay CD Lamb, and kind of do what the Chicago Bears sort of did, which is bring in a new coaching staff, bring in an offense with some weapons, and give a new coach a shiny new quarterback straight out of college,
The one caveat to that is the Bears were in a position where they had the number of trade they traded it, but like the Cowboys,
it's definitely
now look like a playoff
different.
team. So yeah, they're not going to be able to draft one of the top unless they trade their franchise away and just send a bunch of picks. That's the tough part they're in.
Yeah, sure. I think it's definitely not 1-for-1 comparison, but I think it's sort of in the same vein. Excuse me real quick.
Yeah. If they do that,
too much talking. The Jordan Love thing got me all worked up.
If they do that, it's not going to be a 1-year rebuild. It's going to be maybe they get I love this man dearly, so I don't want to bring him to the Cowboys. It will be like you bring in a Gardner Minshew type for a year, get a good draft pick the following. So it would be at least like a 2-year rebuild, which Jerry's old ass might not be around for 2 years. So like I don't think he would really want to do that. So it's tough. They gotta just pay him is what they should do. I just don't think Jerry's just so weird, dude. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough it's like you said, it's tough to see what Jerry Jones could do because you could be in that you could see it both ways of they want to set up something for the future, however that looks, and you move on from McCarthy and Dak, or something I'm familiar with my Detroit Tigers here is you mortgage the future every single year and hope you get Jerry Jones one more championship before he finally, shuffles off to the great skybox in the sky there. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see play out. I think though, if you are a Cowboys fan, I think today really hurt you because you've been waiting to see what's going to happen with Dak Prescott. And I mean, the same for Packers fans. You see all these other deals getting done, and you know that means the price tag for your guy is only going up. And now, Dak could have been Tua. Dak's contract could have been Tua. Now, you're probably looking at it has to be at least Tua, probably closer to what Jordan Love is, if not more. There's just no other way to go about it.
Yeah. The tough part is Dak damn near has the same playoff caliber experience. Like, he's been to the playoffs more, but win-wise, he's at the same level of Love right now, pretty much. So, like, that's where on his end, it's going to be hard to be like, I deserve more than Love. But in reality, like, one, Love's team kicked your ass in the playoffs. Two, you haven't done anything, dude. Like, besides that, it's kind of like, what have you done? What have you done to earn that? But again, it's a going rate for a quarterback. Like, at the end of the day, they should do it, because you're not going to replace him with how your team is right now with somebody that's good. So, which again goes to why I'm just so happy the Packers locked in this contract and we don't have to deal. Like, this is finally, we said it when Rodgers left to Love of like, quarterback drama's done. But right now we are locked in to no quarterback drama for at least 4 years, which I cannot be more excited about, because I have been so sick of it. We're done.
And that's on to just put a bow on a lot of this. That'll be the sort of the next thing that we see. Is this a rework of the current contract, or is this adding 4 years onto the current contract? So does it end up being a 5-year deal, essentially?
From what it seems, it's going to be a 4-year extension. So we should have him locked in for 5 years. He has that
this year
rework
and
of
then 4 more.
Yeah, he has that rework of they didn't franchise, or they didn't pick up his 5th year, and they gave him that little extra bonus so he can earn a little bit more, which is kind of their safety net. It's going to cost him more now, because I'm assuming he's going to outperform the stipulations they put in. But again, this next year is still going to be cheap, which was another reason we signed Gary last year. We just signed Clark to a 3-year extension. So we're primed, man. This team, we went from 1 year of uncertainty to like, it's Super Bowl or bust now. Like, the pressure honestly is on Hafley. Like, it literally all comes down, because if our offense plays the way it did last year, it all comes down to if Hafley can bring us to even just middle of the pack defense. It's a Super Bowl caliber team. If he brings us to a top 10 defense, in my opinion, 100% bias, I'm not going to lie, it's a Super Bowl. We're right up there with the Niners. We're right up there with the Ravens, the Chiefs. Like, if our talent on the defense, which is, we have a talented ass defense that just hasn't performed because RIP Joe Barry, you were there. If we get to that top 10 area, if our offense performs like it did at the end of last season, like, we are a Super Bowl favorite. We're right up there with all the other teams. So I think now, after this contract's done, like, he already had a lot of pressure, but it's all eyes to this defense and what it can do to support a Jordan Love led offense, which we saw last year can be pretty damn good.
No, you're exactly right. I think, like you said, this was the last. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here as we get to the end of this.
You're getting choked up. I understand. It's a great day.
I'm getting choked up about the multi-millionaire guy getting his multi-million-dollar deal. You love to see it. No, that sums it up perfectly. Is at the end of the day, we all knew this was going to happen. So you finally get it out of the way, and to do it literally on the eve of the first padded practice, get him in there playing with the guys for the first time, seeing how he reacts to this new defense. That's another thing is, the early returns from these first couple days of practice. It's very hard to see what you've got going when you're going up against Sean Clifford. No offense to Sean Clifford, but
Hey, I saw on Twitter, he steps up when he's called upon. That one pass for 37 yards against the Vikings.
Yeah.
Living legend.
It'll be nice to see Jordan back out at pads. I'm sure it's going to be a fun day at the Don Hudson Center tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening, whether it's on the YouTube side, on the podcast side, wherever it is. Thank you to Andy for letting us jump in, talk about this big day in Packerland. You can follow Jimmy and I on Twitter. I'm at DK all the way. Jimmy, where can people follow you?
You can follow me, Jimmy_C08.
Perfect. And then follow the show as well everywhere at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Like, rate, review. Tell your friends about it. Happy training camp, everybody, and happy Jordan Love contract day. Enjoy an extra pint of spotted cow.
Dude, you are struggling.
I'm struggling bad. That's gonna do it. Enjoy training camp, everybody. We'll see you next time. As always, go Pack Go.